you had the initial crew that was waiting for water. You also had a truck company that was actually doing their job. That they don't use hoses. They're trying to set up ladders and get themselves set up. There's a lot of different tasks going on at the same time. I recognize that we saw the line without the water in it. Once they got in, then you'll see that they got water in it. It's just once you get there, you pull it, you get to the front door, you ask for water. They didn't get water. The officer came back. He realized they had a problem. They pulled the crews back, said, "Hey, let's move the line to the next apparatus." So yes, we saw that, but they didn't just fall down. They actually started doing other things. It's called recovery to what went on.
So in other words, do you believe this was a complete mechanical error, or was there any element of personal firefighter error that's also being investigated?
At this time, we always look at every fire, find out can we learn from it? Were there mistakes that we made that we can correct? Currently, what we understand is that we had a mechanical problem with that piece of apparatus. We are going to have that investigated by an outside source, which is the shop that works on these rigs. And that's why we had it towed there, so we could make sure we had somebody else look at it. So I believe that the firefighters were doing their job. I believe that that they ran into a challenge, and I believe that they reacted to that by switching to another apparatus to get water to be able to put the fire out.
Has any firefighters been put on leave pending investigation?
A little bit different. What we're talking about is the firing of a firearm versus being involved in an accident, something like that. We did not do that with our firefighters. They were all there. They were working as a team. We did a critical incident stress debriefing for the firefighters. We try to also, because they're impacted by this as much as anybody else, we worked with them yesterday afternoon after the fire, did a critical incident stress debriefing. Those that felt that they wanted to take a leave for the rest of the shift were allowed to leave at that time, and we backfilled for them.
And how many was that?
That was one person as far as I know.
One person.
Right.
There were some comments about how the fire crews out there dealt with maybe the mother of the children, and maybe some other people directly involved with the family there. Is that fair or unfair criticism, the way your firefighters dealt with some of the family out there at the scene?
Well, I think you have to prioritize your task when you get on scene. We've got a large fire in front of us, and we've got people that are reacting to the fire. We are going to go to the riskiest place first, which is dealing with the fire building. We can deal with those that are outside the hazard once we kind of deal with. So it's a systematic approach to what you have in front of you. They've got to make some decisions. They're trained to make those decisions. They made a decision yesterday that the appropriate action was to deal with the fire and the report that they had people inside and not deal with those that were on the outside. As it relates to getting the test results back, we're working with other agencies. They have to run the test. We will work with them to get those answers back. As soon as we get that, we will release it. I do not have a timetable for that. We will be working with the shop. They'll be over there Monday morning with our safety division and our fleet manager, as well as everybody else, to take a look at what's going on. And as soon as we have that information, we will release that. I do not have a timetable at this point in time.
In terms of the other agencies, that state patrol, pilot,
and the medical examiner and others like that, correct.
Does the incident with this equipment, is it going to spark maybe looking at the other equipment at other stations all across the city? Because you might have some Seattle residents looking at this one incident saying, my God, there's a fire in my neighborhood.
I think what it will spark is looking at this series of apparatus. If we think there's so we have different series of apparatuses. So we'll look at this series and see if there's been other problems with the series in their pumps. So that's really what it will lead us to. Well, as you heard me say, when we have fires like this, we do something called critical incident stress debriefing, where we bring all the firefighters together. The idea behind this is that a lot of times you're second guessing yourself simply because you don't have all the information. It's kind of like a puzzle. We're trying to put the puzzle back together for all the firefighters so they can have all the information. We also, during that time, tell our firefighters, do not train yourself not to sleep. Don't lay in bed thinking about it. Get up and do something. We recommend that you exercise and kind of do healthy things. We recommend that if you continue to have issues, that you seek professional help. So we try to make sure that we give them the tools to be able to deal with the things that they will see out there.
Chief, you said the fire started in the first floor living quarters. Have you determined source of ignition, anything else?
Again, we will wait for the test results to come back to tell us exactly what we had there. But we do know, and they've confirmed, that the fire did start on the first floor in the living space and proceeded up the stairway to the second floor.
Can you talk about the previous fire in the complex?
I'm not familiar with the previous fire in the complex.
Chief, did the mother explain why the others remained in the unit and actually went upstairs? I mean, would I have the impression that there was somebody out there? Or?
Everybody was upstairs when she went up to get them. She believed that they were following her. They did not follow her because of the heat and flames, and they chose a refuge on the second floor.
At what point did arriving firefighters know that there were still 5 people in the house? How soon?
The report on the radio said that there were people missing. So you had that information. But again, when you have that amount of flame and heat coming on, it's, being able to sustain life. Can you get there? You need to be able to control that environment before you place more people in that environment.
So in other words, on the radio, they knew en route that there were people in the house.
They knew en route that people were missing. 20s coming across the bridge. They had, I'm not sure what caused them to lose a load of hose, a pre-bundle. They just stopped, pushed it off to the side, didn't try to recover it at all, and then it just kept coming. So they stopped for a few seconds just to make sure it was out of the roadway, not a hazard, and continued on to the alarm.
And I think they were the second to arrive after 18.
Listening to the radio this morning, what we found out is that actually engine 8, even though it shows on our CAD printout that they got there at 10:16, on the radio, if you listen to the radio, they were the second unit there, and they got there at 10:11.
But again, the actual water flow did not start until the 3rd unit arrived.
No, water flow started the minute the second unit got there.
Anything else like that?
In the years you've been in uniform, I know you've had to deal with so many incidents, but this one has got to be one of those that'll stay with you.
I think anytime a family loses somebody, whether it's a firefighting family, a community family, it has an impact on all of us. And it's what draws our interest. So we all end up, becomes a part of our history. And every time one of these happens, all those families that were impacted before are reminded of their loss. And I think we have to be as sensitive to that as we are to what's going on today also.
Combined with the hose problem, combined with the image of holding the hose with no water coming out, creates an impression amongst some people who have written on various blogs and such. And it gives the appearance of a fire department that it may or may not be accurate. Does the fire department have a black eye after this? And if so, how do you recoup your reputation, or do you need to?
Well, again, I think our firefighters went out yesterday and did their job. I think they went out, they came against a challenge, and that is mechanical equipment. It reinforces really the philosophy that I think all fire departments embrace, which is that things can happen at the most uncommon times when you're trying to do your job. And making sure that you send additional units, so if you have a mechanical problem, you can deal with it. Making sure that you have additional hoses going in case one breaks. Making sure that if you have equipment so that you're able to react when things happen. We kind of live in this world called Murphy's Law. If it can go wrong, it will go wrong at the most inopportune times. We got to see that yesterday, and a lot of people got to witness that. What you also got to witness yesterday was how the firefighters reacted and how they used their training to be able to overcome that adversity. So that's really what happened yesterday.